man accused of engaging in an in-court drug deal during Young Thug's trial says deputies assaulted him, and he's filed a formal complaint. Georgia criminal defense attorney Lawrence Zimmerman comes on to discuss. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law&Crime. I'm Jesse Weber.
As an initial matter, ladies and gentlemen, the reason for the delay is that we've had yet another instance of alleged contraband being introduced to our space. And as a result of that and a subsequent investigation, one of our inmates unfortunately had to go to Grady Hospital. So in the interest of propriety, we're going to go ahead and recess for the day because Ms. Callen's client cannot be present. Is that correct, madam?
Yes, Your Honor.
Jury selection is still ongoing in the trial of rapper Young Thug. The Grammy Award-winning rapper, whose real name is Jeffrey Lamar Williams, is facing 8 criminal counts, including conspiracy to violate the state's RICO or racketeering law. Now, this is all part of a wide sweeping indictment against him and what was originally 28 other defendants, although a number have taken plea deals. Now, prosecutors claim that the defendants are all part of this criminal enterprise, that Williams is at the head of it, that he's kind of like a mafia don, that he co-founded a street gang called YSL, or Young Slime Life, back in 2012, a gang that has wreaked absolute havoc. We have people charged with murder, aggravated assault, robbery, theft, illegal firearms possession. And like I said, we're still in jury selection. It's been almost ongoing for almost a month now. But this latest development that we want to talk about concerns defendant Kahlieff Adams. So who is Kahlieff Adams? Well, Adams is currently serving a life sentence for a previous murder conviction, but he was charged with conspiracy to violate the state's RICO Act and attempted murder in this case. You might recall that in our previous reporting here on Sidebar that Adams is accused of actually performing a drug deal in open court by allegedly handing Young Thug Percocet. Well, now, attorney Tiambre Calland, who represents Adams, filed a formal complaint with the sheriff alleging that deputies seriously injured her client. She says that while they were searching Adams, he was tased and he was assaulted, and this resulted in him having to make an emergency visit to Grady Hospital. The complaint states that Adams has back pain, multiple abrasions, and burn marks and scars, as well as his blood pressure and heart rate being elevated. I should also tell you that in a separate motion by the defense, deputies are accused of taking Adams to a holding cell after the Percocet incident, which I mentioned. And this is where they say that defense attorneys actually saw, quote, at least 2 officers remove their belts and firearms before going into the holding area. Then several minutes of loud noises could be heard coming from the back. So what does this mean? Is it going to affect the trial? What do we make sense of this? Joining me right now is Atlanta criminal defense attorney Lawrence Zimmerman. Lawrence, it is great to have you here on Sidebar. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Thank you for letting me come on.
What do you make of this complaint? I mean, these are serious allegations.
Well, is this case ever going to actually start trial? I mean, there's been so many side things happening during just trying to qualify the jury. This case may last till January 2025 at this rate. Am I shocked when you have all these people accused of crimes in one courtroom with all this nonsense going on? No, it doesn't shock me whatsoever. And the deputies, it sounds pretty strange that they, of course, they're going to take their firearms off if they go into the holding cell because that's a requirement. You know, Fulton County had the shooting there years ago, so that's part of their security. But they hear some strange noises going on from the holding cell, and then he has burn marks on him. It sounds like he got beat up by them. And from what it appears.
We all know that life is increasingly complicated. It's busier, it's more expensive than ever. Managing your money efficiently has never been more important. How many times have you signed up for a subscription and forgotten about it? Or you accidentally had a recurring subscription, you're charged, you're billed. Thankfully, there's Rocket Money. What is Rocket Money? Rocket Money safely and securely identifies recurring charges and cancels unwanted subscriptions for you literally with just a tap. You never have to go on the phone or try to hunt down the cancel button. Rocket Money does all of that hard work for you. But that's not all that Rocket Money can do. You see, Rocket Money empowers their members to achieve their financial goals by lowering bills, setting up budgets, monitoring credit, just providing a holistic view of their finances all in one place. So what can you do? Head to rocketmoney.com/law or click the link in the video description. You can also scan the QR code on the screen. Well, my concern is the fact that the body cams weren't activated. So in the complaint, Adams' attorney says, quote, "My client's injuries were avoidable. The conduct of your officers was negligent and inappropriate." Remember, this is to the sheriff. "There is a valid concern that your officers are routinely interacting with persons in their line of duty and refusing to activate their worn cameras. The fact that the body cameras weren't operated, I mean, is this a common thing? We know that there's a big deal of it in terms of officers wearing the body cameras and activating them on the streets, but what about here?"
So, I don't know how often deputies at the jail and the courthouse have activate their body cameras, but if they have body cameras and the fact they aren't activated, I think the absence of that raises eyebrows, right? Why aren't those body cams activated so we know what's going on? That's the whole purpose of the body cams, is transparency. And it's to protect the officers, it's to protect the people who are accused. This way you know that someone's not, who's telling the truth and who's not. And the fact that they weren't activated is very curious. Well, they actually have the ability to. And I think last week there was something else. I can't remember which defendant it was. It was Adams, was pulled out of the car.
So let me tell you about this. This is just the second complaint against deputies in the past week. There was counsel for Rodalius Ryan who filed a complaint that Ryan was involved in some sort of physical altercation with Deputy Morris Kandaki. That Morris Kandaki has actually been placed on administrative leave pending the outcome of an investigation. The fact that this is not an isolated incident, in your experience, is this something that you've heard before about happening in Fulton County?
Hey. Yes, absolutely. Fulton County, there's a lot of good deputies that work there, but Fulton County is notorious for having, there's the old adage that the people that, that are in the asylum or, there's not much difference between the people that are in it and the people that run it. And Fulton County is notorious for that. They have problems with people bringing cell phones, drugs. I mean, it's a big issue there. I mean, even when I go to the Fulton County jail, I can't even bring in a briefcase or a phone or a laptop. I can bring in just like a notepad and a pen. It's pretty ridiculous because they're notorious for having problems there.
Yeah, and of course, I should mention, let me just pull this up real quick. Ryan was charged with misdemeanor, simple assault, and obstruction of police, but I'm talking about the deputies. In your experience, have you seen these kinds of complaints levied against deputies, or maybe what we're seeing here? Because look, we also have to think about it. Are these co-defendants telling the truth about what happened? Are they embellishing it? Maybe not. Is it, given the gravity of how many defendants we have, that there's difficulty in trying to contain this situation? Because to hear multiple incidents against the deputies, that's a concern. I mean, what do you make of that? Have you heard, in your experience, issues with the Fulton County deputies?
Yeah, I mean that's what I think I was trying to point out just now. Yes, absolutely. I've heard that many times over the years, that there are problems with the deputies at Fulton County and treating people who are there pre-trial in bad, negligent ways. Fulton County jail people sleep on the floor. They don't get the medical attention they need. The doors are broken, the locks. People are routinely getting beaten up by other inmates. It's a bad place to be. And the deputies there as well. And again, I'm not painting a broad brush saying every person there who works there is bad. There are problems, and it's known throughout the legal community in Atlanta that jail has issues, and no matter who the sheriff is, they seem to still have the same issues as long as I've been practicing for 24 years. So do we believe these people accusing the deputies? I would definitely believe some of it.
So what happens now? I mean, is there an investigation? What is the sheriff going to do in a situation like this, you think?
He's going to have to investigate and figure out what's going on. And this is a high-profile matter. They can't every day have an issue that's going to routinely delay the proceedings, because as it is, it's already been delayed, right? So if something happens every single day, like I said, at this rate, it's going to be 20, 25, or 2026 when this case gets to a verdict.
I mean, I was going to ask you that. We've had alleged drug deals happening in the courtroom. We're having this. We have Judge Earl Glanville calling out people for being late to court.
I see Mr. Johnson is here. Mr. Johnson, what time were we supposed to start, sir? 8:30. So when I came in here, you were not here. Did you let my team know? No, you didn't. You know, here's the issue, and the issue is that I can't start until all of you are here. So when you all peel off to do other things and we don't know about it, then I can't plan accordingly. So if you could do me the courtesy next time and let us know, by any one of the members of my team or whatever, but really kind of manage your time so we can start and go ahead and do that, sir. I'd appreciate it, okay?
You mentioned it before. I'm just curious, when do you think this trial is going to start? Is there a light at the end of the tunnel? And by the way, I think when this trial starts, it might last 8 months. There's probably going to be roadblocks or problems during the course of the actual proceedings. What do you think is going to happen here?
Right now, there's no light at the end of the tunnel. We're not even in the tunnel yet. We're before the tunnel. So, I mean, they're just trying to get jurors qualified. And look, I respect Judge Glanville. He's a good judge. But I think he could have made this case a little bit different and simplified it by separating out the defendants into different groups, different tiers, and then told the prosecutors, look, pick your 50 best witnesses. Nobody better, testify cumulatively of other witnesses. Let's narrow it down. I'm not going to be here for 6 months. Pick your best. This is a 3-month trial and we're done. He could do that. He has the authority. He's the judge. And if I'm the defense, I'm going to say, wow, you want reasonable doubt? It took them 10 months to try to prove their case. They needed 400 witnesses. I mean, it's a mess.
Having such a big case, it could fall apart. I just want to go back to Adams for one last thing. So the fact that he's allegedly, he's accused of engaging in this drug deal in open court, do you find it curious that he's now saying he was the subject of assault by the part of the deputies? Because I'm wondering if this is true, him allegedly doing that in court had an effect on this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that it's absolutely true, and you got to take it with a grain of salt based on who the person is making the allegation.
Right.
I don't know what him making a drug deal. He handed a Percocet to somebody else. I mean, based on what he's facing, that's nothing, right? It's just a possession with intent, or I guess could be a sale of a Percocet. So, yeah, I don't know if he's going to have to going through the lengths of getting beat up by the deputies, how that's going to exonerate him from the pill incident, which is absolutely on video.
Yeah, and you think about what he's accused of, and he's already convicted of murder. Like you said, take it with a grain of salt. Lawrence Zimmerman, thanks so much for taking the time to talk a little bit more about this here on Sidebar.
Thank you.
And that's all we have for you, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us here on Sidebar. Please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Jesse Weber. I'll speak to you next time.